All right, welcome back over here. While the U.S. Federal Marshal Service is known for tracking down and arresting wanted fugitives, little is known publicly about the efforts to track down and safely return missing children, juveniles. News4JAX was recently allowed to be embedded with a federal marshal task force during what they are calling Operation Home for the Holidays. It was a 2-week operation. They recovered 122 missing children here in Jacksonville, Orlando, and Tampa. In fact, 22 of those kids were reported missing from Northeast Florida. News4JAX reporter Erik Avanier joined that task force to document this operation, and we brought you several of his reports yesterday.
We're going to follow them.
Okay. We just got information as to where this missing teen may be located, so now we're going to that location. This, of course, is based on real-time information that is coming into the control center.
The new intel we received led us to this apartment in Jacksonville where the missing teen was located and recovered. She was taken into custody because she's wanted by the juvenile justice system. Her situation is a little different because she's also suspected of being a victim of human trafficking. The next day, we got new intel on the missing 13 and 14-year-olds we were looking for the day before. That intel led us to this Jacksonville apartment where the girls were finally located. The 14-year-old was arrested and taken to the juvenile detention center. The 13-year-old was taken to the hospital to be evaluated, receive necessary services, and possibly reunited with her family.
All right, so Erica is joining us on the morning show to unpack some of what you got to report. And again, there are 2 very long packages on news4jax.com for you to really understand what happened.
And just to break that down into clarification, the first story that aired yesterday was about the operation itself. The second story, which aired last night, took you deep into the operation behind the scenes to show our viewers how hard it really was tracking down these missing juveniles.
You know, Eric, I do want to ask, why did they invite you to see this? You know, I don't think anyone really thinks about what that looks like when you're going in, trying to get a 13, a 14-year-old. Obviously, there's trauma there. Why did they want you to see this behind-the-scenes operation?
Well, for one thing, they trust News4JAX. We have a track record of trust, for one thing. And 2, they really wanted this documented. They wanted to show the public hey, this is one of these operations that, yeah, we go after adults, but you know what? We do have this operation where we're trying to find as many of these missing reported children throughout the Middle District of Florida, which, again, if you don't know what the Middle District is, that encompasses Tampa, Orlando, Jacksonville
area. Yeah. Let me ask you, because, you know, you think about a 13 and 14-year-old and you think about missing kids. I mean, obviously, if my child was missing, it would be devastating. There are some children, though, that are in endangered environments and they are fleeing danger. And they get in a more dangerous situation when they're out there in the street. So can you talk about how they work with these kids once they find them to make sure they're going back home to a safe environment?
You're right. I mean, a lot of them did come from really bad situations and found themselves probably in far worse situations, either being trafficked or being in a situation where they may have been malnutritioned and around illegal drugs and just a lot of dangerous things. But I can tell you, based on my observation, when those members of the task force knocked on the door, when they finally located these kids, it was a very delicate situation. In fact, one situation that really stands out to me, you talk about delicate, there was one child who had run away from DCF, and she ran, and we got a cell phone ping of where she was located. Right. Her location was at a motel on the west side of Jacksonville, in an area of the west side notorious for human trafficking. Right. We would later find out that her parents were living in that hotel, so she was running back to her parents. But the flip side to all of this is that her parents did not have DCF custody of her. When those task force members went into that motel, they took her out. And one of the reasons why they removed her, not just because the parents didn't have legal custody, but they saw some things in that hotel room that raised some red flags.
So maybe she didn't need to be there with them
She didn't, exactly. And it was, I say that moment stands out because that was the one recovered child that we were asked not to shoot video of because she was already traumatized. She was traumatized by the sheer number of law enforcement officers that were there.
Yeah, all these kids. I mean, and you pointed out, you know, one was a victim, but also wanted. So there is that very delicate line when you're dealing with a child of how you're going to integrate them back in and make sure that they can have a productive life. And I heard one of the agents say that to you, that that's really the hope. What about those resources? Because I also saw in your story that the kids were taken to the hospital, they're given counselors. There's a lot of that unpacking after they're in custody.
So there was another element to the task force. That other element was providing necessary resources. So we had a law enforcement headquarters, but then we also had a resource headquarters. That resource headquarters was based inside Wilson Children's Hospital emergency room. There was a command post there where you had DCF and I believe First Coast Child Protective Services, along with other child advocacy groups from around the state that set up a command post in that room. And there's a door that obviously we couldn't go past because of HIPAA laws and things like that, but it was beyond that door where the children were that were brought there received necessary services. Those services could be food, it could be someone to talk to, a psychological evaluation, and if necessary, a physical evaluation, and then hopefully reunited with their parents or reunited with what other agency, child advocacy agency that they may need to go to.
And that's probably years to unpack to try to figure out how to get that child back healthy so that they can thrive. Thank you so much. I mean, I'm sure that impacted you tremendously, and thank you to the men and women who do that work, because it is hard work. And want to point out that your stories, because people will want to watch them, they are on news4jax.com. There is an article on the homepage right now. Again, 2 stories looking at the undercover operation and then also that initial story, Liz, there now.
And I just want to point out, if we have a little bit more time real quick, the fact that, we don't have time.
But it's okay. You can
I just want to point out just a little bit, there was a lot of passion in this. You had law enforcement officers that aren't even from Florida that volunteered to do this. And these are federal law enforcement officers who spent their own money to fly here. And this was during the government shutdown. That's just how passionate they were about finding these missing children.
Those are the people who need to be doing it. All right, Eric, thank you so much for sharing. And again, check that story out on news4jax.com. We'll be right back.